Because he ready to start. The podcast is now recording. This is what happens when you have just had a child and you are on a time limit. Starting now. Well, he good now because Jessica, you gonna text about 8:15 like y'all ain't done yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the Vibe Controllers Podcast. Merc B, Cocky McFly, Fifth Child, out here.
It's time for us. Bro, I'm telling you, since the back really started coming up, you have changed. I just, I wanted to go and say this out loud when we get off here, because I know we got somebody.
Hey, I ain't worked this hard to stay the same.
Let me block you. Let me block you. I don't know you no more. Let me block you. Are y'all there? Okay. Look, our daddy said we got that right. Hey, good people, welcome to the Vibe Controllers Podcast. We appreciate y'all tapping in. Season 4, episode 36. I don't know the significance of the number 36. Or, we got details and details. I'm talking about. Listen, so, look, man, I go by the name of Cocky McFly. Again, we appreciate y'all tapping in with us. Across the table from me, that is my brother, Merc B. Williams. Merc, say hey to the people. The podcast can officially start. The greatest of all time is in the building. Yes, she has. You see how I said that? Live it up for me. See that live with Chris Paul in here? Thank you, sir. Also, our brother and proprietor of the Briarwood Arts Center, blessed and anointed center, Stephen Brown, a.k.a. Fifth Child. Fifth Child, say hey to the people.
Hey to the people.
Look at you. Acting like you got some
did it right
today.
this time.
Okay. You got to do what that man say, bro. Yeah. Hush now, we got people in here. So, you are the first guest in season 4. We have not had any guests. So you are the first guest of season 4. This young lady really needs no introduction. If you don't know who she is, I don't even know what's wrong with you. We are so happy and honored to have you with us. People, y'all please give a good round of applause for Sister Rukia Lumumba.
Yes, thank y'all.
Say
so
hey
much.
to the people.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me. I am really honored. I'm the first guest for this season.
That's right.
Season 4.
You finna be the last one. We don't even need no more guests. We don't need no more.
Listen, I don't mind, but I think the people will mind. This is a good podcast. We need it. We need it in our lives.
Man, forget them people.
Yeah.
I'm talking about you. Yes, today is all about you, all about our sister, man. We're going to tap in with her. We're going to ask her some questions. We're going to get to know her. We're going to let her talk about this campaign she's running for and all this great stuff that has to do with the beautiful state of Mississippi and specifically the great city of Jackson. So, yeah, y'all stay tapped in with us. We out here. Yeah, we are back. As I stated, this is episode 36, season 4 of the Vibe Controls Podcast. Again, we got our sister Rukia Lumumba up in the building today. We finna ask all these hard-hitting questions. We really not. We're gonna have some fun today. But
what's that lady on NBC?
Yeah, I know. I told you.
Hard-hitting questions. I'm finna go.
Let me tell you, I've been waiting on this episode for 4 weeks. You hear me?
We know.
We
4 seasons.
4 seasons. I mean, I looked up the questions. I prepared myself. I researched. I don't research for nobody.
And he sent it all to us.
Sure did.
He did.
So we could be prepared.
I appreciate you.
Y'all, look, we know you running back. We ain't finna be in here. They ain't finna talk about us. Like, these niggas on this podcast don't be doing none of it. We ain't finna do that. But yeah, so, we know you are from Jackson. And you moved away for a minute, came back home. So we're interested to know, what made you come back and, really, what did you see here that inspired you to come back and really kind of step in and make a difference?
Well, first and foremost, seriously, thank y'all for having me.
For sure.
And thanks everybody who's listening. I know your time is precious and I appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah.
Yes, boy.
I always intended to come back. I left to learn, to study, and to bring back what I learned to Jackson. to Mississippi to develop alternatives. So I'll tell you, so when I started Tougaloo College, in my sophomore year, I interned. I was in the pre-law program, and they require you to do an internship. And so the first semester, I did my internship with the ACLU, reviewing letters and requests from people who are incarcerated who are asking for legal support. And then my second semester, I interned for a small nonprofit called We Care. And it was run by a woman, Asada Gaynor. And Asada was from New York, but she had moved to Jackson, been here about a year or two, and she was still operating her alternative to incarceration program in New York, but operating it virtually in Jackson, right? Right. Like,
virtually
what?
back in the day.
Exactly. Right. Now, virtual back in the day looked a little different. It meant like using the telephone, and so the program, though, it worked inside of the criminal court in New York, in Manhattan. And it served as an alternative, a community-based alternative for people who were charged with serious felonies, for young people who were charged with serious felonies. So instead of them going into Rikers to do their time, because what people don't know is that Rikers is a jail, but it also serves as a prison depending on your sentence. You can do up to like 5 years at Rikers, right? And so a lot of young people at 15 in New York, you were automatically considered, back then you were automatically considered an adult. And so when you were stopped in New York at 15 years old, it didn't matter what you were stopped for, you became an adult. Sorry, at 16 years old. For certain crimes at 15, but at 16-year-old, as soon as you turned 16, if you got stopped by the police, you were going to Rikers Island. And so her program served as an alternative. And it was the first time. So I was able to work with her, intern with her. I was reviewing all of these kids' cases. She would do court reports for them based on were they attending the program, what were they doing. Because she had staff in New York. She would constantly be in touch with the judge. And after completion of the program, where they would stay at home, they would have a social worker. They would also have additional social support staff. So they would have a teacher. They would have a substance use counselor. They would have all these things depending on what their needs were. And at the end of the program, their case would be dismissed. And so it would not be on their record. And these are serious felony cases. Right? So I was like, wait, what? I had come to Tougaloo and I had 3 classmates that my first year of Tougaloo, they were serving as high schoolers because they were still in high school. They were serving their first year on life sentences without the possibility of parole. 3 classmates. One, because he was literally in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was actually a victim of the crime, not a perpetrator. Another one, because he was trying to live that American dream, trying to sell, drugs to make a living, right? Or to make a bigger living than what many of us were able to achieve. And then the third one, in self-defense, had, protected his life in self-defense and ended up killing another person. And so all 3 of them were teenagers who were sentenced to life. And I said, after learning about this program, I said, it gotta be another way. And so at that point, I had committed myself to learning more about these alternatives, like what existed in other places. And so I said, well, I'm gonna go to New York. I'm gonna go to law school. I'm gonna go to New York. I'm gonna study. And then I learned that California also had a lot of programs. So I said, I'm gonna do California too. And so I did all of that. And I said, and I'm gonna bring all of this back to Jackson, back to my home, to be able to begin to develop those alternative programs here. The only other part of this story I didn't tell you is 2 things. One, public safety, public health, like this need to create a system of accountability that looks drastically different than what we have in our carceral system, started for me when I first, and I gotta say this because I gotta honor our elders when they pass, started for me when I was in 2nd grade. And I would sit in the courtroom watching my father defend Mutulu Shakur, and watching the great Sophia Elijah defend Marilyn Buck, which was his co-defendant. And I watched this judge in the visceral prejudice and anger that would be on his face as he would talk about Mutulu, who is Tupac's father, for folks who don't know, his stepfather, Fanny's late husband. He just passed 2 days ago.
Yep, 2 days ago.
3 days ago. Now they had his janaza yesterday, his funeral. And, you know, it was just, I knew at that point when I was that young, I said, oh, I'm going to be a judge. Because you got to treat people better. And then I definitely gave that hope up. I was like, I'm good. I don't want that. I don't want to be in that position. But I do want to create something different. The other piece, you know, that kept, like, so there are different points in my life. So I can talk about second grade. The next point in my life that really hit me hard was when my older brother, his name is Cam, when he was shot in the head, right on Point Dexter Street here in Jackson. And I opened the door at 13 years old when his friend came to the house to tell us, like, you know, Cam had been shot. And it was like at 1 a.m. I ran to my parents and I said, you know, he's been shot. And we ran to the hospital and they had my brother on a stretcher, hadn't even pulled him through to surgery or anything. They just had him in the hospital, just sitting there on a stretcher. And so my father immediately pushed through the doors and pushed him back until somebody dealt with him. But my older brother had been in and out of juvenile detention most of my life. He, you know, struggled with just wanting to feel connected and loved, you know what I'm saying? He had, you know, he was a part of my father's first life, right?
Yeah.
You know, my father, you know, like many of us have we grow.
Yeah.
And so my father would tell you that my older brother was his hero. Because my older brother literally was there during the toughest times when my father was least mature. And he had to go through, you know, the process of my father maturing and becoming more responsible. And so, you know, my brother desired what he saw me and my younger brother have because he didn't have that in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And so it kept him desiring things, you know, wanting things. And so it gave me a sensitivity to understand. And my older brother was, listen, I ain't never felt unprotected in my life, right?
Yeah.
Between my older brother, my father, and even my little brother trying, right? I have always felt loved and protected, right? And my older brother was one of my biggest protectors. And so to see him now be shot and unparalyzed, to this day he's still paralyzed on the left side of his body, and so young, he was in his early 20s. I just had a different compassion, and I understood, like, if there was more time, if my older brother had even kind of the programs that I witnessed and I participated in, developed in New York, he would have had a different outcome. You know, so it was all of this that kind of guided me into this work, into this desire to create a better quality of life and better material conditions for our people, period. Right? And so it meant, like, how do we do that? That one for me started with young people, and then 2 started in the criminal system. Because I felt like those were the most vulnerable places where we found ourselves, right? One in our youth, where we're so impressionable, we're trying to learn, we just need some love. You know, I read, I really love my work. It's a problem. And so I'm a little bit of a nerd. So I read books about, you know, brain health and brain development, and it talks about the juvenile brain, the youth brain, and how it develops. And it talks about how there are 2 times in your life and y'all cut me off because I could talk forever.
No. Teach us.
There's 2 times in your life when your brain is most dynamic, meaning that it can take in the most information and really help to develop you. That's from 0 to 5 years old, and then again during adolescence, which now goes as young as 9 years old and goes as late as 26 years old. And so it is the last time where your brain is like just a sponge. It's taking in everything. And so the more positive experiences that you're exposed to, the greater the likelihood that you will have more success, and however you define that success, just a healthy mental, you know, physical, like, you know, doing well, being able to take care of yourself. The less experiences, positive experience and support that you get, the harder it is for you to achieve that normalcy. And so when we incarcerate our children and throw away the key, think about what we're doing to them when they're coming home, right? We're not providing them with those positive experiences and that support. And so we got to think about what is an alternative. And so the programs that I was able to be a part of in New York and develop, I ran 2 different nonprofit juvenile divisions in New York. The first one was the Center for Community Alternatives. I ran their youth programs department, and then the second was CASES, the Center for Alternative Sentence and Employment Services. These were 2 of New York's largest alternative to incarceration services. I saw over 4,200 young people be diverted from the criminal system. And that work wasn't easy. It was scary work for me because it made me think of as a mother, because I have a son, what would happen to my son on the streets of New York, where children literally were stopped. You have people stopped at least 100 and something times, young people. Bodies violated by police for the sake of gentrification or just the sake of profiling. And that's not to say that in some instances we have some young people that did some wrong things, right? But we have to hold people accountable in the right ways. That one helps to heal the person that is harmed, and also helps to heal the person that did the harm and the community that they impacted. And so that's what our programs were able to do. We had over a 72% success rate of all young people that came through our programs. And so I brought that work back to Jackson. And so that's what the People's Advocacy Institute does. That's the work that I've been doing here. We, build public safety initiatives. We have the only credible messenger program in the state, which serves as a transformative mentoring program for young people that are facing charges in Hinds County Youth Court, as well as in Rankin County Youth Court. We also, and that's called the Strong Arms of Mississippi. Big shout out to Teron Moore and Benny Ivy and John Knight, who lead that work.
Great work.
And then we also have the Operation Good Cure Violence program, which is run by Frederick Womack and his team, where they literally put their bodies on the line to intervene in South Jackson, in the small 45 block area of Oak Forest community, where they're intervening in preventing gun violence. So they're mediating conflicts that would otherwise turn deadly. And so last year they saw over 213 days of no gun deaths. And that is a significant increase and improvement since the data we got in 2018 and 2019. And so, and in 2021 they saw 232 days of no gun deaths. And I don't have the data for this right now with me, sorry, but it's a strong program. But I have so many programs I can tell y'all all about. I feel like I need to stop talking.
Oh no, you're fine. No, we read it, and then trust me, it reads like a CVS receipt. It really does. It's a lot, but I mean, if you want to, I know, like he asked about, like bringing those programs back to Jackson. Like, so much of the narrative of specifically the city of Jackson is always, we know what the issues are, and it's almost like it's a broken record. We keep talking about the same thing over and over again. This is one of the first times we've had someone come in who is talking about solutions and being a part of the solution, because we have people out here in the community who want to help but may not know how. Or in what capacity to be able to help. My question, and we'll get to the rest of them, like if I'm a person who is talking to you and listening to what we're listening to, like how do I tap in to be a part of it?
Well, the first place to start with us is a Jackson People's Assembly.
Cool.
That is our space where we birth most of our ideas, most of the solutions. I learned a long time ago that I am not the keeper of all ideas. I do not know. I don't have the answer or the solution to everything, but collectively we can figure that out.
Yeah.
And so our Jackson People's Assembly is really a space where community members come together and talk about priority issues that community has identified, and then we spend most of our time talking about solutions. Like, what are the solutions? And so I would say definitely go to the website Jackson People's Assembly. That's JXN peoplesassembly.org. Sign up so that folks can be connected and get our text messages and our emails, and we'll let you know what's going on. All of our programs that I have at the People's Advocacy Institute came through a Jackson People's Assembly. or a Jackson People's Assembly process. And the Jackson People's Assembly, because I like to give credit where credit is due, actually is a project that was formed by the Malcolm X grassroots movement. And it started back in 2006 after Katrina. Assemblies are people's assemblies or people movement assemblies have been existing for decades. I mean, for probably before that, right? All over the world. They're just spaces for community members to actually engage in governance, right? To determine what are things we need to solve, and then making decisions, big and small. And so that's a good place to start. Yeah.
And vote.
And vote, yes.
Cause we gonna talk about that. So we definitely gonna talk about that. But you got to go vote.
Yeah.
On August 8th.
I have a question, and it's kind of more so about the context of you implementing programming that you may have developed or experienced in New York and California, which are drastically different in a lot of ways, but drastically similar, surprisingly similar in a lot of ways. And just what were some of either the barriers to implementing that same kind of program in a more like historically conservative state, and how did you overcome those?
Yeah, such a good question. One, I will say that it has actually been a lot easier here. Because the community,
I wouldn't have thought that.
Right? You wouldn't have thought, but the community here is just so ready for something different, like to try something, anything that's going to work, something new. And so the struggle hasn't been with community accepting it. The struggle has been more with the politics of it. People not wanting to work with me because I'm related to the mayor, right? And when I say people, I mean city officials not wanting to work with me because I'm related to the mayor, or not wanting to support initiatives because of my connection to this particular organization, right? And so overcoming that has been a hurdle. And the best way I've done that is to literally just go back to the root. It's always the people, right? I got a belief in, and we say this in my organization, People's Advocacy Institute, that community has the right and the responsibility, right, to dictate and determine our goals, our needs, our solutions. And we have the right to have the resources and the control over those resources.
Absolutely.
And so all of the programs that I've developed, although I got training and learning in New York, all of these programs look different in Jackson. And every single program has been developed out of the minds and the time of people here. So it doesn't look exactly the same as any of the programs in New York. In 2019, we spent a year with 125 community members to come together and build out what this Credible Messenger mentoring program looked like, and to build out what this Operation Good Cure Violence program looked like. So, it was some work there. I think about the bail fund we have. We have the Mississippi Bail Fund Collective, which is the only bail fund in the state of Mississippi, bailing out people across the state with cash bail. So we go to a court, we pay cash bail, because we're trying to end wealth-based detention, where if you're rich, you get out, but if you're poor, you're in there. And so the goal is to end wealth-based detention and to really have detention based on your threat of harm to yourself and to community, and to actually provide supportive services to people so that even while they're out, they can get back on their feet, they can make sure they go back to court, and so some type of supervision. And so we bailed out over 100 people across the state. And that was developed from a collective of social workers, public defenders. We had also community-based organizations like Mississippi Votes and One Voice, who do policy work, part of that collective, still are. We had BYP 100, a part of that, who are, really trying to push narratives and alternatives in general to how we live. And then people who've been directly impacted, most importantly, who have experienced the harm of bail, who have lost their job because of it, have lost their time. We had one woman, our first client in 2019 that we bailed out, was a 66-year-old woman who had been in jail for 9 months before we got her case, and had been in there for fighting another older woman.
I didn't want to
She
like
had-
it, but
listen.
I wanted to ask why.
the picture in my head,
I did
it
want
made
to
me
ask why
laugh.
the old lady was in there. I
And
did.
bingo.
Listen, she had got chronic illnesses, all these things.
You felt on James.
Do you know we got her out? They just dismissed her case this year.
Bruh, like,
She would have been waiting in jail all this time.
man.
2019.
Yeah, that's crazy. Why you out here?
Why you
at
out
66?
here?
But
Let me
that
tell you,
ain't
I
the
don't
point.
want to
Yeah,
learn no
yeah,
life
gotta
lesson
leave
at 66.
That ain't the point. That ain't the point of this story. Cause that's a whole. We gonna take it left, and that's not what we
She
need
really
to do.
stole on
on Velma.
On
She
Velma.
stole on Velma.
She
So
stole
I'm
on.
sorry. I
It's
hope I
all
answered
good.
your question because
You
I totally
did. No,
did
you
get
good.
thrown
She's
off
perfect.
track.
Nah, you good. You good.
You know what I wonder too, with you talking about your time spent in New York, did that overlap the same time with Khalif Browder's story as well?
Yeah, it definitely did. It definitely did. Yeah, so many stories I can tell about New York. But Khalif actually had attended our program, Cases, my last employer, where I was directing youth programs there. Now, he had attended a year before I got there. So he wasn't there when I was there. But everyone knew him. He was someone who had successfully completed the program. And so when he got picked up over a book bag
Book bag.
and sent to Rikers, a place that the Department of Justice did a report, 65 pages, that just detail the abuse that happens inside of that facility, especially in the youth department, in the juvenile unit. Just constant, people being beat over the head. Like, that's a normal thing by guards, by other folks. One of the important things about alternative programs is that the people who have experienced the harm also are the people that end up staffing those alternatives to be what we consider credible messengers, or people who can identify, right? And so when that report came out, most of my colleagues or my comrades were like, oh yeah, who had been in Rikers, they were like, yep, I experienced that, yep. And I'm like, dang, all y'all, these grown men, right, telling me. And so, yeah, so Khalif's story not only hit home, I have a picture of Khalif that in my office I normally keep up. But ever since 2020, we've been working from home as we're waiting on our new offices to be renovated. But, now it's every time I walk out of my house, I look at it. But it's just a reminder for me that the work we're doing is serious, that it is life-changing. And we had a Khalif Browder story here. Right after Khalif happened, we had a Kajorium. Kajorium is a young man who, this is before I even moved back home. My brother, before he became mayor, when he was an attorney, was representing Kajorium. Him and an attorney, Barry Howard. Kajorium is a young man who has some mental delays. He was 14 years old when he was picked up as an accessory to a crime. They kept him isolated in solitary confinement in an adult prison for 2 years while his case was going on. He already had mental health issues, and now he's isolated by himself. He deteriorated inside of there. All for something that he did not do. He ends up getting out because he didn't do the crime.
Mm-hmm.
But it's now some 4 or 5 years after they done had him incarcerated.
So damage is done at this point.
Kajorium found himself back inside. I can't express the harm that we do to our communities when we don't take the time to be more thoughtful and considerate of the consequences, the collateral consequences and long-term consequences of what we're doing. At some point in time, people gonna come home. And so what are they coming home like, and who are they coming home to? And oftentimes, we in community have the burden of holding all of the trauma that has come from being incarcerated and trying to heal and get our people back on track from that time period. And it's a burden, but it's also a blessing that we get to hold it. But we need resources to hold it. And we see what's happening in our communities because we've been holding it. And oftentimes Black women are holding it more, right? And women of color. We not only holding it while they're gone, because it's a separation of family, right? Like you hear in the immigrant movement, the immigration rights movement, you hear people say, back in a couple of years ago, people would say, stop separating families, keep families together. Through deportations, they were separating families in detention. Well, that's the same thing that's happening through incarceration. But anyway, all my work is not just incarceration, but yeah,
It's
I was
your
there.
passion.
Khalif. It is my passion because I just see how it really harms our communities. I do see how it really impacts us.
Yeah. So, and we'll transition into another question before we get to. We'll say that for the last part. But so, we all from Jackson, so we know Lil Brother. Good friend of ours, and we have seen we've seen him go through some things, being in position of being mayor, and I'm interested of your perspective of that from two views, the view of Big Sister and the point of view of now you're getting into the political realm. So I'm interested in how you received it.
Yeah, that's a good question. So one, as his sister, I'm proud of him.
Yeah,
I'm proud of him for taking the bold, the courageous step that after my father passed, to put himself in the spotlight and to sacrifice so much to run for office. It definitely wasn't something that he had dreamed of. My brother had always wanted to be a what do you call it? Entertainment attorney. He wanted to, have the money. He was a lot like my mother. They were fashionable. They wanted the nice things in life. They ain't trying to struggle.
Yeah.
He wasn't, organizing in the community like that. He was supported. But he look, I'm enjoying my life too. Now I support the cause and I'm going to get some money to the cause. And I'm going to show up when you need me to show up.
Yeah.
But when my father passed, it sparked something, a necessity for him to continue that work. And I think that he has done a great job. I think that he has done, despite all of the attacks and all of the barriers that he's been faced with, and that we as a community have been faced with, all of the crises we've seen come about. He has held strong, and he has held us strong, and he has not compromised any of our morals in doing that. Yeah. And so I'm really proud of him. Now we ain't always agree. Listen, we haven't always agreed. And I will definitely say that I have been vocal when we don't agree, right? So you might want to rewind some city council meetings and see my disagreement.
That's gotta be like my sister pulling
He's
up.
sitting up there like,
And I'm like, how you gonna do me like
this
this?
what we doing?
I already got to deal with Kenny Stokes. Man, you coming up here acting fool?
Yeah. I just got a little more class with it.
That part.
I like the shade. I like the shade, sister.
But he has done a really great job. So I don't shy away from being his sister. I'm proud to be his sister. And I'm proud of the work that he has done. But I am not him. I am not my father. I have not lived off of their work. I have developed my own work, my own history, my own legacy. In New York, you can't go nowhere and ask somebody, Rukia, you know what I'm saying, from Mississippi, they gonna tell you.
Yeah, pop your shit on
I
this
really want to
podcast.
say pop your shit.
Pop your shit on this podcast.
That's my one cuss word.
Come on.
Pop your shit, sis. I'm for this.
So,
Man, I know.
I can't wait to go to New York, Rukia.
Man, listen.
Don't even worry about it.
I'm
I'm
sure.
sure. Listen, I'm name dropping. I am.
I'm serious about the work. And so, and most of the time, my family didn't really understand what it was I was doing. Because, like I said, alternatives, don't nobody know what it is.
Hey, they asking about you like, she all right, she out there.
Yeah,
But
she doing
out there,
something
doing
with kids, juveniles. I don't know. She doing something. That's what my father thinks. She doing something. That girl. She need to just come home. That was his constant line. And so, so yeah, I'm proud of him.
Yeah, that's what's up. So, we were talking offline, and you are being charged to talk about all the stuff that you really be doing. We gonna continue. This is the pop your shit segment. We gonna continue to pop our stuff.
We should make that a segment. We should make that a segment.
Only for people who are pop your shit.
Yeah,
worthy.
but don't be coming here talking about, you're not popping nothing like I got the new Jordans. No, we're not doing that.
You not popping it. You
doing
go to
something for real for the people.
You can go to Concrete and get 3 pairs New Balance. Anyway,
Yeah.
so forgive us, ADD. So, look, man, tell us about like some of your proudest moments or your achievements in your career so far as an activist. Like some information that we don't know.
Yeah.
Like let the people know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've done a lot of work, y'all. But I'll talk about what I've done here, most recent, here in Mississippi. Most people don't know that, I led the opposition against HB 1020, brought together the largest coalition called Jackson Undivided, made up of over 40 organizations. For the first time in recent history, brought together the baddest legal team of all of Mississippi's legal advocacy groups. So MacArthur Justice Center, Mississippi Center for Justice, Southern Poverty Law Center, the ACLU, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. I'm forgetting somebody, I'm sure, but all together to really push a legal strategy in the wake of HB 1020 as it was being presented on the floor. We were behind the scenes getting ready to file suits, right? But in addition to that, brought together these massive organizations, some of Mississippi's largest grassroots and grass top organizations like Mississippi Votes, like One Voice, like NAACP, Mississippi Poor People's Campaign. I mean, come on, give me Black Women's Roundtable. The list goes on and on. But we worked with state representatives too, right? Bringing them into the coalition, really to help people fully understand what HB 1020 and SB 2343 would really do if passed. And so we were at the state capitol. First of all, we were meeting every morning at 8 a.m. since January 31st, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. every single morning. January 31st until April 23rd, we met 8 a.m. every morning. We had sit-ins at the Capitol Monday through Thursdays. Fridays, state legislators are off. We had actions and press conferences planned throughout that whole time, and we organized them. We had community meetings to help educate community members about it. And so, I think, one, I'm proud of that because it was hard, it was stressful, and everybody didn't like each other. But I believe in the collective we. I believe that we cannot choose who we work with when it is critical. We have to move. In all that we're doing, we got to remember, we do not exist in a city, in a state.
I was like, can you say
like,
that one more time?
I wanted to do it so
run
bad.
that back. You have to run that back. We cannot.
Yeah, we cannot just work with people we like, right? Like, we really can't. To keep it real simple, we exist in a city, a state, a world, right, that we want to see better. We want to see governed better. And if our goal, right, as the advocate, is to do that work, who are you doing it for? You can't just do it for people you like. You can't just do it for people who look like you. You can't just do it for people who are kind to you. You got to do it for everybody. So that means we have to learn how to work through our differences and work with each other to meet that common goal. And so this coalition, it tested me, Lord, it tested me.
I believe you.
I think yes, it tested me. But we are on the other end and we're stronger for it. And we are all still working towards attacking and addressing the harms that these bills will do to our community. We just had some recent success about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago now, where we won in federal court, in U.S. District Court, where we had filed suit because SB 2343 limits our right to protest, rally, and hold events in any building or street or place adjacent to or near where a state official operates or is occupying. And so it would require us to get a special permit from the Capitol Police and from the Mississippi the Mississippi Department of Public Safety. No other place requires that. Not in Mississippi or anywhere else. Do you have to get a permit from the city of Jackson or the city that you're in plus the state? No place. And so it is absolutely an infringement on our First Amendment rights to free speech and to rally and protest. And so we know you know when you're doing good work because they create whole legislation to attack you. So last year during the water crises, we were in front of the governor's mansion protesting through our Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition and the Mississippi Poor People's Campaign. We were protesting frequently, almost every Monday during that period of time in front of the governor's mansion. Huge protests, large stages and everything. Right.
Be there.
And so I was there.
I said he don't
Oh,
be
he
there.
don't be there.
Oh, he
Oh, he came out. He came
did?
out one day.
What?
He sure did. He
was
his
in
head.
Jackson?
He was in Jackson. Oh, he was
Wow.
living in
Wow.
that mansion.
I'm shocked. I did not know he wasn't in
whole
there.
head
Didn't know no neck
peeping
was
out.
in there.
Oh yeah, he was in
My
there.
bad.
And so we know that legislation was an attack on our organizing efforts, right? It was just too clear. It was just too clear. And so you know, that's one thing. Jackson Undivided. Shout out to all the groups, man. Like we were really out there, and we've been out there. We still are out there. So I want to say that. We have actually a protest coming up July 17th, another Moral Monday event to really relaunch. We're launching a month of dignity and democracy. And so asking folks to come out so that you can really learn about what's going on. We also, you know, the other thing I'm really proud of is our Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition. It's made up of over 30 organizations across the state of Mississippi. We have served over 100,000 people. We started as a small community. We called it Jackson Community COVID Response Team with students from UMMC, University of Mississippi Medical Center. We started during the COVID shutdown or right before it happened because they knew it was going to happen because they were students. And so they actually had the brilliant idea, them and Tyson Jackson. Shout out to Tyson, who's no longer here. And so we formed this coalition, and that year we served 55,000 people, 55,000 residents. Providing groceries door to door, hot meals, and things like that. In 2021, during the freeze, we saw a need to revitalize that and to grow it. And so 2 days after the freeze, we had already mobilized our coalition to hit the streets. Anybody who had four-wheel drive, we were out distributing water, hot meals, and kerosene to people who didn't have heat. And that's when we formed the Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition. And ever since then, we've been responding to not only infrastructure failure, so disasters caused by infrastructure failure, but also disasters caused by climate. And so we responded to Hurricane Ida. We supported people from, coming into the city from New Orleans. We supported folks through the floods that we had last year and some this year. We've been supporting people in Rolling Fork. I mean, you name it, we there. It's such an amazing, and we have developed what we call a help center out of it. And all of this has been done. Like, people don't understand. When you do the work, people recognize it and people want to support it. Mm-hmm. And so all of our funding has come from foundational support and individual donations. Our bail fund in 2020 raised over $100,000 in one night. One night. Now, we ain't got that like that no more. I think 2020 was a special year. But we just woke up. We had 30,000 in the account. Next day, we had over 100 and something thousand.
Yeah.
Right, for bail, to bail out people.
That's
right. And so the Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition is similar. People recognize the need and people give, and we've been able to respond. We do not take state or city money. For our Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition, we really believe that it is to be developed. It's community-led and community-driven. We believe that community needs the autonomy to move in that space. We don't have time for the bureaucracy of government. So
I have a follow-up question to really lead into more in-depth questions about just your platforms. But knowing that you have been able to accomplish so much from a grassroots level and outside of the bureaucracy, so then why switch formats? Why change,
I know. Why? I ask myself why. No, but because I see the necessity. I entered this because community asked me to. And this isn't the first year that community has asked me to run for something.
I'm sure.
Ever since I came home, somebody has been saying, you should run for this, or you should run for that, or, and I'm just like no, it's not the time. I got too much work. Like, I'm doing all this. And honestly, y'all, like, the work is tiring on its own, right? And then you gotta feel like there's a need, right? No one should just enter office just because it's a position open. Let me just feel it. Let me get that little extra 20,000 that you're gonna get. It ain't even a full check, right? It shouldn't be a status, right? Achievement. It shouldn't be a career booster. It should really be about service. It should be a sacrifice. Just like when you go into the pulpit, right? Like, you should be entering that space because you are called into that space, right? By a higher being, by our creator, right? That you can be that vessel, that you want to dedicate that time, because it is not an easy space to be in. Being a public official, if you're truly about serving your community, you're going to have to interact with your community constantly. Well, I'm already doing that work and I know how hard it is. So just imagine how many more people I'm going to be impacting and have access to me, after. And so, no, I will not lie and say that it's something that I had dreamed of. I will not lie and say that it's something that I had even thought about doing this year. But it was something that community came to me, and one individual in particular said, listen, there is no one better for this position than you. You have to stop running from it. It is time for you to give yourself and our community an opportunity to see something different. And so I said, I got to stop being selfish, right? I have to move myself into it. And so I did. And so I decided to run, and I'm here, right? But I want to do it differently. I want to do it like I've been doing all my work, where, even when I was directing programs in New York, I didn't just develop the program and say, here, do it. No, my staff and I developed it together, right? And so whether I had 25 staff or 200, we worked together in a participatory way to develop. And that's how governing should be. Our democracy, we don't really have a true democracy here in this country. We have a very representative democracy that is really based on what that representative wants to do, not what the people want to do. And so we need to shift that. And so that's what my platform is based on, but that's what my vision, that's what our vision, when I say our community vision is, because we all believe we should be a part of it. We all believe we should have the right to have a say, even if we don't want to be in it every day. We want to at least know what's going on. And so my goal is to really increase access to information, increase opportunity to be a part of decision making in that state house, and to really use the examples of like assemblies, that assembly structure, to actually walk into a space, walk into a room like this and say, listen, this is what they're talking about in the legislature. These are the bills we think they're about to pull for. What do you think? How should I vote? Right? And even before we get to that point, what do you want? The reality is, as a state legislator, I am one of over 100 and something folks. It is an advocacy position. And who's best to fill an advocacy position? An advocate. Right? I've been doing this. You know what I'm saying? And so you gotta have some organizing background. You You can't just enter it and us have the same old we've been seeing, y'all. We saw this legislative session, it was too critical. We can't keep having the same people enter office and do business as usual. And people worry about, well, is she gonna be able to work across the aisle? You cannot, like literally, you cannot be a black person in the United States and not work across the aisle. What black person you know hasn't worked with Republican, Independent, Democrat, and everybody else, right, in order to get things done?
Yeah.
So of course I'm gonna work across the aisle. In 2020, I worked across the aisle. I presented legislation, policy suggestions, and recommendations, and we saw those policy recommendations passed by the legislator, bipartisan, right? So I can work across the aisle. I've been working across the aisle. This ain't nothing new for me. But we have to do something different where community has more access to information and more engagement in the process. And so that's what I hope to bring to this. And that's what I hope to be an example for other legislators to begin to do.
Everybody wants you to shake the table until you shake the table. That's kind of where, everybody wants you to shake the table until you actually shake it.
So they actually shake it, or they just don't want you to shake it at all.
But they don't want you to shake it at all.
Yeah.
But it's what I think, specifically District 72, I think that we're at a critical point. You know, it's not necessarily what we want, it's what we need.
That's right.
Now. And I mean, I can say it. You are what we need in District 72. I can say that, you know. And that's no disrespect to anybody else that's running.
No.
I know some of those people personally. Great people.
Who is running?
Sonors.
Okay.
So, yeah, but somebody that we know personally.
Yeah, I mean,
great
like,
dude,
listen,
all that stuff.
I know
but again,
Sonaris, I know everybody
all
that's
those
running
people.
except for
but
one
the thing
person.
is, it's
They're good
like,
people.
you know, like you said, like, what are you in it for?
That's
like,
right.
Who are you in it for? And are you really, like, committed to doing the work? Because
Yeah.
if you're committed to doing the work, no matter who win, we still got to get this work. It still got to get done. You know what I mean? So,
Still gonna be
you know, hey, how can we help each other? But, you know, but again, in order to do that effectively, we got to have the right person at the head.
That's right.
Because you can't just follow anybody. We haven't always had the right person at the head in the district.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's difficult because you can't, one thing about people, I don't care how engaged they are or not, you can't fool them.
Yeah.
You can't fool people.
You cannot.
And we only gonna rock with you for a minute, especially in the jack.
It's true.
We
It's
super,
very true.
we fickle.
You tough for about a year.
Are we really fickle, or are we just like, we tired of being played
That too.
over?
That too.
We tired of being played over.
Yeah, we
you
like,
know?
yeah, you know what?
Right.
Buddy was cool, you know what I'm saying, when he won and, you know, gave her free wings and all that other stuff. But, you know, we can't ride with you no more, buddy. We don't see no results.
I don't
So,
know,
yeah.
man. Free wings. You might get my vote. I want to be a wing. You hear me?
And listen, I do want to make it clear that I'm not running against anyone. I'm running for something,
There you
right?
go.
And so I just want to be clear because we all will work together no matter what, you know. And so I do want to be clear about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what's up, man. This, you know, this is a perfect way to end. Right there.
Can you, like, do you have a standing ovation clap?
I think so.
We need to find it. I think it is.
Some whistles.
Does it sound better
Does it
than
sound
a regular?
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah, because
regular clap.
Oh, I ain't know, bro. That lame clap. We didn't. We 4 seasons in. We need you. You clearly got a new iPad. So can we get a new clap? That's all I'm saying. What's in the budget at back?
It ain't new.
Yeah.
And big congratulations to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, my son. My
Yes.
son. Yes, he turned 6
And
6
his hands
months.
bigger
Wow.
than yours. I saw the picture.
He is. That boy is disrespectful. He be flipping the bird at people.
He does.
It is
He
hilarious.
does.
That's your picture in my phone. Like, that's fun. Yes. Thank you so much again for just we just appreciate you for coming and being a part of our podcast. Hopefully we get 17,000 more views now. But yeah. Go ahead.
If you had to like elevator pitch like 2-3 minutes your main platform.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I want to make sure you had some time to do it before we close.
I was gonna say that, but
But go do your thing. Y'all love to take over. Go ahead.
Yes, listen, vote for me August 8th, Rukia Lumumba. Vote Tuesday, August 8th for me. Together, I really do believe that we can create the solutions that we deserve. Solutions that address our public health needs, solutions that address our education needs, our healthcare needs, that address our good governance needs, right? And our democracy, and also our economic needs. And so I've been doing this work. I have a vision to do this work together, to shift how we do business, how we do governance, and bring you into the process, increase your access to information, increase your process and decision making. So August 8th, vote Rukia Lumumba. That's Tuesday, August 8th.
That's right.
I love how you are loud with your actions.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, I wish we could all just be more like be louder with our action. I like that.
You got to do the work.
I love it.
They
Like,
can't
I'm
deny the work.
inspired. I want to just go out and do something. Like, I'm inspired.
Come on, we
be
got
quiet.
stuff. We definitely got
I'm
stuff.
not.
Do that. Go out and be quick.
No, I'm not. Absolutely not.
We argue every week.
Because I'm famous.
I hate you, man. Yeah. So again, thank you so much for coming, man. Y'all, please give it up for our sister Rukia Lumumba. We'll get clapped while we in here. I know. Don't edit it out. We
I'm
doing
gonna have to
that.
edit them out. I'm just have to make them
Got it.
lower.
Yes, sir.
Turn the volume.
Yes, sir. We sorry.
Man, we paying you, bro. Chill out.
Don't even start. Did you pay on that?
I ain't got the cash out for him.
That's what I'm talking about. Have we completed the episode? 'Cause you got me fried. I need to see a finished product.
Every 2 weeks.
Boy, I'm worried about the wrong thing. You handle grown folk business over here. You got to worry about sweep around your own front door. Don't worry about what's going on over here.
Anyway, thank y'all so much for tapping in with us again. This is season 4, episode 36 of the Vibe Controls podcast. We are always recording live from the Broadwood Art Center, man. Make sure y'all follow them on Instagram and join the Facebook group. They have a number of awesome events going on every week, community-based events each and every week, and there are membership opportunities as well. Yeah, and then I think that's it. Mark, what you got coming up?
Yeah, man, it's a busy and blessed month, man. Shout out to the good people at Center Stage for last week. Shout out to the good people in Indianola, Mississippi. We had a good time. It's a booked up weekend this weekend as well. Actually, the rest of the month. So it's gonna be great. Just heard back. We filmed something like a couple months ago that's gonna drop in August. So you'll see and hear more about that. Got some other stuff planned up and that I can't talk about yet. But yeah, man, just slanging these jokes. Making sure we keep the bills paid and all that other stuff. And letting these little gifts make room for me. So appreciate the support, all that other good stuff.
All right, Steven, fifth child, tell these people what you got coming up, man.
So, definitely ACT Prep Club that is starting this week at Briarwood Art Center.
Who's sponsoring it?
The Vibe Controllers podcast.
I know.
My favorite twins.
I mean,
Just bless,
you know
bless
anymore?
it. But seriously,
Do you
because
know
it was going to be at cost for these students. We have space for about 25 students.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to a generous donation from the Vibe Controllers, that is completely free to the young people to come for the ACT prep.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring your babies.
There's also a music production workshop that's coming up on Sunday the 16th and then the 30th. And that is not sponsored by the Bible.
Oh, no, it's not.
You got to pay. You got to pay for that.
You got to pay. You got to pay.
But no, seriously, at Briarwood Art Center, like the majority of the programming is free, so just definitely stay tuned for that. As far as fifth child stuff, I have performance on August 4th at Urban Foxes, and then I have some stuff coming up later in the year with Mississippi Symphony Orchestra. So I'm really, again, we're running it back. Got some new stuff coming up with them. So and the new album, God Got My Back, of course, available everywhere. Please check that out.
Please check it out. Also, just on Vibe Control stuff, again, thank you to the folks at Center Stage. Great event this past Friday. and we appreciate you. Please participate in this ACT prep. Don't let our money go to waste. Bring your kids. For real. Bring them kids, man. So yeah, and then of course we got a whole bunch of stuff coming up. You can find us on Instagram at the Vibe Controls, or you can join the Facebook group at the Vibe Controls. Man, we just out here trying to do what we can do while we can do it for the sake of doing it. So yeah, before we go, and we didn't tell you this prior, but that's what we do.
Look how she looking, bro.
Like, what's happening?
I know. Look, the way she look, you look like you whoop kids. I seen the look on your face, like, oh, look, my whole left side went numb.
It's the look. It ain't even the whoop, just the look.
And look at the belt too.
Yeah, man. Like, what, man?
Y'all are so wrong.
That's a big abusive belt right there,
man.
boy.
I'm like,
The regular belt just won't
I saw
do.
the belt, the trauma just came back. Man, let me go put these dishes up. Yeah,
You hear me?
I'm playing.
Did I make my bed? Anyway, before we go, we always like to leave our listeners with a little nugget, a little something inspirational, just a little tidbit to carry them on through the week or the day or the minute or the hour, whenever they're listening. And typically we allow our guests to drop a little nugget on the people before we leave. So if there's anything on your heart and your spirit that you want to drop for the people before we dip, this is your opportunity. So we have our nugget from our sister.
Yes. Well, you know, the song that's been playing in my head all day today since early this morning is Cleo Soul. The song that's been playing in my head all morning today is Cleo Soul's You Are Loved. Know you are loved. And even if you don't love yourself, know you are loved. And I think that speaks to all of us, like in our community. Like, even when it is the hardest for you to feel that love from the person around you, from your mama, from your daddy, from your sister, your siblings, from the system, from yourself, just know you are loved. Ooh, I wish I could sing right now because it's playing in my head.
I mean,
Yeah.
we all wish we could. But if you would have sang, Stephen probably would have put your voice in auto-tune. And the people wouldn't have known the difference. No, man. So it's okay. Thank you so much for that beautiful nigga. And again, thank you so much for being here with us. We really, really, really appreciate you. Come back anytime.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Because we ain't going to have time. So you need to come on back.
You know what? When you
No, this gonna have to be a space that I use to get to talk to
Come
people.
on.
And let
Bet.
them know
Bet.
information
As soon
and
as you win,
access.
we back.
Right?
We doing a victory episode.
Yeah,
Then
we can really get loose at that
Yes,
point.
we
Then you
need
got the
to.
job. You can
Right.
say what you want to say once you get the job.
Yeah, people gotta know the information. We gotta have avenues.
That part. That's
Oh
what
yeah,
do.
well, if you're not dry,
You got to ask the police.
The dry police.
yep. And she rolled her neck.
I take you shot.
No liquor for you.
I'm
I'm
wet.
Ask
I
the-
take the shot.
She may not be here when I come back.
Y'all finna argue in the car.
It's like, girl, why you gonna do me like that in front of them?
Anyway, thank y'all again so much for tapping in with us, man. So yeah, we better get up out of here. Merc,
Man, you already know what it is, man. Y'all stay up, stay blessed, stay free. Y'all shut it, man.
already 2 fingers up means peace to the side because I'm chilling, and that's tradition.
You do
Anytime we have a guest here, they gotta say it before we leave. And you probably asking yourself, what is it that I got to say? So you gotta say out here, but you gotta say it like out here. So we can't end until you say out here, but you gotta say it like out here.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So
Out here.
Yeah! There it is. That's it. That was perfect. That was perfect.